corruption that is in the world through lust. Okay? And in Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 to 2, okay? Therefore, be imitators of God as dear children, and walk in love as Christ also has loved us and given himself for us, an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling aroma. Okay? So we are being commanded, mga kapatid, to show love, not only to the people who love us, not only to those who show mercy to us, but also to those who hate us, no? To those who persecute us, to those who spitefully use us. Okay? Ano pa? Why do we love our enemies? That is for us to overcome evil. Okay? And loving our enemies, mga kapatid, is also not letting evil overcome you. Overcome your whole self. Romans chapter 12 verses 20 to 21. Basahin natin mga kapatid. Romans chapter 12 verses 20 to 21. Therefore, sabi doon, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him a drink. For in doing so, you will heap coals of fire on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Okay? Hindi naman sinabi dyan, if your enemy is hungry, right, leave him to starve. Okay? If your enemy is thirsty, leave him to die of thirst. Hayaan mo siyang mamatay sa uhaw. No? Okay? And do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Okay? For in doing so, you will heap coals of fire on his head. Okay? Sabi nga ni George Washington Carver, mga kapatid, I will never let another man ruin my life by making me hate him. Okay? And one of the presidents of the United States said, si Richard Nixon, sabi niya, those who hate you don't win unless you hate them. And then, by hating them, you destroy yourself. Okay? Which is true, no? Sabi nga nila, hate does not help. Hate, instead of bridging or building bridges, it burns bridges. Okay? So how should we overcome evil? We overcome evil by doing good. Okay? A quotation said by Abraham Lincoln, mga kapatid, isa sa mga presidents ng United States. Sabi niya, am I not destroying my enemies when I make friends of them? No? At sabi din ni Martin Luther King Jr., if you're familiar with that person, sabi niya, love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. Okay? Now, loving our enemies, mga kapatid, means that our ultimate goal should be to transform our enemies into our own brethren. Okay? So Romans chapter 10 verse 1, sabi doon, brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they may be saved. Kagaya ng attitude nung nagsasabi sa Romans chapter 10 verse 1. Okay? At saka, if you're gonna think of it, mga kapatid, if you're gonna think of it, isn't that not what God did with us? Hindi ba yun yung ginawa din sa atin ng ating Panginoon? That He loved us, He loved us, and He showed us compassion. He showed us a way for us to be saved, even though we were considered as His enemies. No? Kahit napakasama natin, we were still given a chance. We were still given a chance for us to be saved. Okay? Let that be our attitude as well. Now let us ask, Okay? Now that we know who our enemies are and why we should love our enemies, the question is, how do we love our enemies? How should we show love for our enemies? Okay? There are a couple of texts that we will look at ulit, mga kapatid, to answer this question. And one of them is answered in Matthew chapter 5, verse 44. Okay? As commended by Jesus, Paul, and Peter, okay? Loving your enemies means blessing them. Okay? Sabi niya, but I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you. Okay? So Romans chapter 12 verse 14. Okay? Bless those who persecute you, and bless and do not curse. At sa 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 9. Not returning evil for evil or reviling for reviling, but on the contrary, blessing, knowing that you were called to this, okay, that you may inherit a blessing. Okay? So ano ba ibig sabihin ng bless sa mga binasa natin, mga kapatid? Sa Matthew chapter 5 verse 44, sa 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 9, at sa Romans chapter 12 verse 14. Okay? The word bless there means to speak well of or to speak well to. Even though, okay, these people are cursing you or saying bad things against you. Okay? Hindi mo ginagantihan ng cursing ang isa pang cursing. Okay? What else? How do we show our love to our enemies? By doing good to them. Okay? No matter how bad they are to us. Okay? This kind of act, mga kapatid, is displayed in both covenants, no? In both covenants, sa Old Testament at sa New Testament. Sa Exodus chapter 23 verses 4 to 5. Balikan natin sa Old Testament, mga kapatid. Exodus chapter 23 verses 4 to 5. Sabi doon, if you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall surely bring it back to him again. Okay? So kapag naliligaw daw yung ox or yung donkey ng iyong kaaway, no? You shall surely bring it back to him again. If you see the donkey of one who hates you lying under its burden, and you would refrain from helping it, you shall surely help him with it. Okay? Muli sa Matthew chapter 5 verse 44, do good to those who hate you. Okay? At sa Luke chapter 6 verse 27, but I say to you who hear, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you. Sa Galatians chapter 6 verse 10, okay? Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all, most especially to those who are of the household of faith. Alright? And by doing so, mga kapatid, by doing so, you're actually having the potential of transforming our enemies into a friend. Okay? Bababasa natin yan sa Proverbs chapter 25 verses 21 to 22. Okay? Proverbs chapter 25 verses 21 to 22. Sabi doon, if your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat. And if he is thirsty, give him water to drink. For you will heap burning coals on his head, and the Lord will reward you. Okay? Naalala ko, mga kapatid, when I was still in reporting to a manager na sa isang company na pinagtrabahuan ko dati. One of the quotes or one of the things na nasabi niya sa akin nung dati, kung bakit, kasi siya yung tipong siya yung tipong hindi magagalitin. Kahit sobrang nakikita na namin na pinupukpok na siya ng mga bossing namin, no? Kahit sobrang dami na ng mga trabaho na pinapagawa sa kanya, kahit sobrang under pressure na siya. At nakikita namin that, that medyo hindi na tama yung ginagawa sa kanya. Sinasabi niya na ano ba yung sinabi niya na it's okay. Sabi niya ganun sa amin, it's okay. You will attract more flies, sabi niya, with honey than with vinegar. No? Mas marami ka daw maaakit na mga langaw or insekto with honey than with vinegar. So ibig sabihin, if people are being bad to you, if people are doing bad things, saying bad things to you, okay, do not be like them. Okay? By doing that, you will attract more good vibes, you will attract more, good people. No? Okay? Sa 2 Kings chapter 6 verses 22 to 23. 2 Kings chapter 6 verses 22 to 23. Sabi doon, but he answered, okay, you shall not kill them, pertaining to the enemies. No? You shall not kill them. Would you kill those whom you have taken captive with your sword and your bow or your bow? Set food and water before them, that they may eat and drink and go to their master. Then he prepared a great feast for them. And after they ate and drank, and he sent them away, and they went to their master. So the bands of Syrian raiders came no more into the land of Israel. So that's a good example, no, mga kapatid. Instead of fighting them back, no, anong ginawa nila dito? Okay? They served a great feast for them. And what happened? So these enemies, these Syrian raiders, came no more into the land of Israel. Okay? So what else? How can we show love to our enemies? We show love to our enemies by praying for them. Matthew chapter 5 verse 44. Okay? Pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you. And Luke chapter 6 verse 28, muli mga kapatid, pray for those who spitefully use you. And one of the greatest examples that we can find in the Bible has been shown by our Lord Jesus Christ. So Luke chapter 23 verse 34. Okay? Nung sa mga huling oras niya na on the cross. Okay? Instead of telling bad things to the people who hurt Him, saying or cursing those people who hurt Him, who put Him on the cross, no? What did He say? Sa Luke chapter 23 verse 34. Sabi niya, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. And they divided His garments and cast lots. So instead of cursing, our Lord Jesus Christ even prayed for them. Sa Acts chapter 7 verse 60. Acts chapter 7 verse 60. Then he knelt down and cried out with a loud voice. Okay? Lord, do not charge them with this sin. Okay? And when he had said this, he fell asleep. Okay? So Romans chapter 10 verse 1 muli mga kapatid. Si Apostle Paul, sabi niya, Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God is for Israel, is that they may be saved. Okay? So instead of cursing back, instead of telling bad things to these people that hurt us, pray for them instead. Okay? And loving our enemies is done with active goodwill, which is the meaning of the word love. Okay? Or the agape love, ika nga mga kapatid, no? And which is beautifully defined by Paul sa 1 Corinthians chapter 13 verses 4 to 8. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 verses 4 to 8. Sabi doon, love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. It is not puffed up. It does not behave rudely. Does not seek its own. Is not provoked. Thinks no evil. Does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. Bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails, but whether there are prophecies, they will fail. Whether there are tongues, they will cease. Whether there is knowledge, it will vanish away. Now, imagine mga kapatid, if we treat our enemies that way. So that's how we show love to our enemies. Mga kapatid. We show love to our enemies by blessing them, by doing good to them, by praying for them, okay, just like our Lord Jesus Christ exemplified, and through conscious effort with active goodwill. Okay? Now let me conclude my short message for you this morning. Okay? We are not commanded to love our enemies with affection in our hearts, kagaya ng pagmamahal natin sa ating pamilya. Tandaan natin yung mga kapatid. Kagaya ng pagmamahal natin sa ating mga mahal sa buhay, especially with our brethren. No? But we are commanded to love our enemies with an act of the will, which is by displaying active goodwill, or the agape love toward them. Okay? And this is done, once again, by blessing them, by doing good to them. Okay? No matter how much they hurt us, no matter how much they despise or persecute us. I know mga kapatid that this is easier than mas madaling sinasabi kaysa ginagawa. But this is not impossible. Okay? This is still doable. According to science nga mga kapatid, humans are naturally empathic creatures. No? We are naturally compassionate and empathic creatures. We just have to become more aware. We just have to become more aware of how we feel towards others. Tandaan natin mga kapatid that anger, no? Anger does not solve everything. Okay? Anger does not solve everything. And in loving our enemies, tandaan din natin that darkness cannot drive out darkness. And only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Okay? Hate will not solve another person's hate, but only love can do that. Okay? Parang ano lang yan mga kapatid, no? When we are planting, for example, a plant, or a tomato, or a lettuce, for example, no? And kunyari, hindi tumubo yung tinanim natin. Sometimes we blame the plant. Ano ba yan? Hindi ka na naman tumubo. Sometimes that's our nature, no? We blame the plant. Okay? However, in reality, we should look for the reasons that, or we should look for the reasons why the plant did not grow well. No? It could be the plant needed more fertilizer. It could be the plant needed more water. Kailangan ng more sun or less water, whatever. No? We often blame the plant. Okay? Yet, if we have problems with our family members, with our friends, with our brothers here in the church, we often blame the other person. No? But if we know how to treat them well, if we know how to take care of them, they will grow well. No? They will grow well like the plant. Okay? Blaming and too much anger often have no positive effect at all. Nor does trying to persuade using hate and anger. No blame, no anger or hate, just plain understanding. If you understand and show that you can love, no, you can bless and that you can pray, most often the situation can change. Now, may this message, mga kapatid, may this message inspire us to become more loving Christians, to further propagate the love that we have in our hearts. And may this be an inspiration for us to remember that all of us were once in darkness. No? That all of us were once enemies of God. And that someone, okay, and that God loved us even though we do not deserve it. Magandang umaga po sa atin.